At 61, Jim Carrey sat down for what he said was his last interview. The man who made millions of people laugh was ready to tell the truth. For many years, fans thought something was wrong behind his wild energy. They were right. In 2025, Carrey said he'd been taking Prozac since the 1980s, fighting sadness that never went away. But that wasn't the most shocking part. What he told everyone about his father trying to kill himself and his own worst moments will change how you see every movie he ever made. Jim Carrey was born on January 17, 1962, in the small town of Newmarket, Ontario. He was the youngest of 4 kids, growing up in a loud, crowded home where dreams and bills fought every month. His father, Percy, played the saxophone with a jazz band before taking an accounting job at Titan Wheels in Scarborough, making just $800 a year. His mother, Kathleen, was sick all through his childhood, spending more days in bed than out of it. The family name used to be Kerr before Percy's family changed it after coming to Canada. Inside their small home, Jim watched his father's quiet sadness grow. Percy had the heart of a musician stuck behind a desk. And Jim learned early that even working hard didn't mean you were safe. When he turned 8, Jim found peace in the mirror. He would stand there for hours twisting his face into shapes that made even his brothers and sisters stop and stare. By 10, he felt so sure of himself that he wrote a letter to Carol Burnett telling her he was already great at impressions. He got a polite form letter back, but to him, it was everything. He taped it to his wall like a dream. At school, he couldn't help himself. He turned every class into a show, copying teachers and movie stars until the principal kicked him out again and again. Kids called him Rubber Face. And for a boy living with no money, those laughs were like gold. Then everything fell apart in 1975, when Titan Wheels closed without warning. Percy was 51 and suddenly had no job. He sent out 73 job letters to accounting companies across Ontario and got nothing but no's. The savings ran out fast, and Kathleen's doctor bills ate whatever was left. Percy finally took a janitor job for $4 an hour cleaning toilets in the same kind of factory he'd once worked in as an accountant. Jim was 13, and watching the man he looked up to most mop the floors of men who used to shake his hand, it hurt deeply. Within months, they lost their home. From 1974 to 1976, the Carreys lived in a yellow Volkswagen camper van parked near Lake Ontario. Percy and Kathleen slept inside, while Jim and his brother John put up a tent beside it through freezing Canadian nights. They woke up with ice on their sleeping bags and cleaned up in gas station bathrooms before school. Sometimes Jim grabbed old sandwiches from trash cans and warmed them on the van's stove. Together, the family worked the night shift at a local factory, making $32 for 8 hours of cleaning floors and bathrooms. Jim went to Aldershot High School during the day, half asleep, his clothes dirty, and his mind empty. By 15, his mother's sickness had gotten so bad she couldn't walk by herself. Jim started skipping classes, and by 16 he quit school to work full-time beside his father making $4.25 an hour. He cleaned floors all night, came home at sunrise, lifted his mother from bed, washed her, made her food, and sat by her side making jokes to make her laugh. Those jokes were how he stayed okay. Kathleen called him her little sunshine, but inside he was scared. It went on for 2 long years until 1980. Then came the morning that changed everything. In 1982, Jim found his father passed out in the bathroom. Percy had swallowed a bottle of pills. Jim was 20 and screaming into the phone for help as ambulance workers rushed him to Joseph Brant Hospital. They saved him by minutes. Later, Percy admitted he had tried twice before during the years they'd lived in the van. Jim carried that shock for the rest of his life, scared that same darkness lived in him too. It became the reason he worked so hard, the reason he could never stop. But even through all that pain, something inside him kept saying to try again. When he was 15, Percy had driven him to Toronto's Yuck's Comedy Club for his first real show. His mother had picked out a bright polyester leisure suit, thinking that's what comedians wore on TV. The act bombed, people barely clapped, but Percy, even with all his sadness, drove him home with quiet pride. Jim learned then that failing on stage wasn't the end, it was practice. On his 16th birthday, he quit school completely. The family was still broke, and everyone worked factory or janitor shifts to survive. Jim did 12-hour nights, sleeping in the van between shifts, dreaming of lights and cheers. He started sneaking in comedy practice on breaks, copying Don Adams and W.C. Fields to keep his mind going. He had once been a student, now angry and quiet. But comedy gave him a reason to keep going. The family began to fall apart under all that poverty. His brothers and sisters left. His father sank deeper into sadness, and his mother's painkiller use became an addiction. Jim later said, "If you're high on painkillers, that's leaving." He would sit at the dinner table listening to her say things like, "My brain is falling apart really fast," or "I could die at any time." Those words cut deep into him. He learned to use laughter as a shield to hide pain behind silly stuff. At 17, he finally made $20 for a 20-minute set at a club called the Hoft. It wasn't much, but it was proof he could earn money with his jokes. Then he tried out for Saturday Night Live in 1980, thinking he'd made it. But he never even got to meet Lorne Michaels. The bosses passed on him, saying, "I don't think Lorne would like it." He was crushed. That rejection burned for years, but it also pushed him to stop copying others and start making up his own characters. Behind his humor were hidden wounds. He'd been bullied at school for being poor, made fun of for his clothes, sometimes so desperate he'd hurt himself just to feel something real. Years later, he talked about those moments in a documentary that showed video so rough, the makers kept it locked away for almost 20 years. His pain became the fuel for his art. Every wild face, every crazy movement came from a boy who had learned to survive by making people laugh. Through all the mess, there were still small bits of hope. Teachers at Aldershot High School sometimes let him perform in class instead of punishing him. One art teacher remembered him drawing and doing John Wayne impressions at the same time. In 1981, when he was 19, he got his first TV role in a small Canadian movie called Introducing Janet, later renamed Rubberface. He played a struggling comedian named Tony, almost a mirror of himself. It didn't make him famous, but it gave him a start. That same year, he took a big risk. With only $200 in his pocket, he left Toronto for Los Angeles. He slept on couches in comedy clubs and lived on free food, trying out anywhere he could. By 1982, he was performing at the Comedy Store, the same place legends like Richard Pryor and Robin Williams had ruled. One night, Rodney Dangerfield saw him, liked him, and invited him on his 1982-1983 tour. Jim was the youngest of the group, opening shows in front of thousands, yet still barely having enough to eat once a day. The hunger never left him, but now it had a reason. He got small parts on TV after that, barely paid, but each one mattered. In 1983, he made just $50 a week doing sketches in a show called The Sex and Violence Family Hour. He slept in an empty apartment with no furniture and survived on ramen noodles. In 1984, he got a sitcom, The Duck Factory, about a cartoon studio, but it was canceled after 13 episodes. He fell into debt again. Still, he refused to give up. In 1985, he got his first taste of success with the film Once Bitten, making $19 million on a $5 million budget. Critics didn't love it, but people noticed him. The rubber-faced kid from Ontario was suddenly getting attention. Around that same time, his life went off track again. An arrest for marijuana, a brief relationship with Mia Farrow, and a growing use of cocaine to keep going through all-night practices. He called that time one of his darkest. Still, he kept showing up, pushing through each tryout, each rejection. He tried out for Saturday Night Live 3 separate times in 1980, 1983, and 1986, and was rejected every single time. His final tryout failed after a Robin Williams impression fell flat. Instead of quitting, he changed himself. He began making strange, wild characters that no one else would dare try. One of them was Fire Marshal Bill, the crazy man who would later define his big years. Those failures had shaped him into something new. In 1990, Jim Carrey was 28 years old when he joined In Living Color, a Fox sketch show that didn't just push limits, it erased them. From the moment he walked on stage, his energy didn't match anyone else's. He created more than 120 sketches over 5 seasons, but one character, Fire Marshal Bill, blew up fast with a burned face, crazy stare, and the wild catchphrase, "You can call me Bill." He made people laugh and feel uncomfortable at the same time. It wasn't just funny, it was unforgettable. The show started pulling in millions, and Jim's bits were the ones people remembered most. It was the first time a white comedian became the breakout star of a show built around black comedy legends like the Wayans brothers. Carrey didn't just fit in, he stood out. But behind the scenes, he was going too hard. To play characters like Vera DeMilo, a gross female bodybuilder, or Ice-T Copies, Carrey changed his weight constantly, gaining or losing 20 pounds in a week. He was using his body like a toy. He'd slap himself, bend in ways that looked painful, crash into furniture just to get a laugh. Critics started talking about Emmy potential, but his own body started breaking down. During one sketch in 1992, he twisted his ankle while dancing and had to shoot the rest of the week in pain. Even then, he didn't stop. He was getting $25,000 per episode and had just bought his first house in Los Angeles. But to keep going, he started taking Adderall. It helped him stay awake through the brutal 80-hour weeks, but it was also tearing him apart inside. At the same time, his marriage was falling apart. He had met Melissa Womer back in 1987 on the set of The Duck Factory. She saw him before the fame, but once In Living Color took off, everything changed. Fame filled the house. Late nights, strip clubs, lies. In 1995, she filed for divorce. She said he cheated with strippers, that he wasn't the same man anymore, and the court papers told the whole story. Too much success, too little balance. The audience laughed while his marriage fell apart. Even the content of the show got tangled in bigger problems. During the 1992-1993 seasons, the sketches pushed the line so far that Fox panicked. One segment, called Homeboys, making fun of gang culture, pulled in over 10 million viewers, but also got complaints. Bosses started fighting the creators over what could air. Carrey didn't hold back either. He leaned into the chaos, making fun of everything from race to religion. But after years of fighting, he finally left in 1994. He didn't burn out, he shot upward. Because that same year, Ace Ventura dropped. Nobody expected a low-budget, loudmouth pet detective to change comedy forever. The movie cost just $15 million. It made $72 million in the US alone and $107 million worldwide. And Carrey, he made up almost 40% of his lines. He wasn't just playing Ace, he was Ace. He blurted out, "Alrighty then," and 1 million kids started saying it overnight. Studios went from laughing at him to throwing contracts on his desk. That one film turned him from TV weirdo to box office king. When he tried out for it, he didn't even follow the script. He just started doing voices, Ray Charles, Tony Bennett, nonsense that made no sense on paper, but hit hard in the room. He beat out 19 actors. Sean Young got cast as the lead, but she fought with Carrey and the director until they fired her. Courtney Cox took the role instead. By then, the film was rewriting itself around Carrey's madness. He'd pull random pranks mid-scene. One time, he walked past a guitarist and yanked her arm mid-note just to see what would happen. They kept it in the film. It didn't matter if the crew couldn't stop laughing or if scenes needed 20 takes. Carrey was shaping everything on the fly. He didn't just act like Ace Ventura. He became him. He stopped showering, slept in the character's apartment, dyed his hair. The lines between Jim and Ace blurred fast. When he shot the apartment raid, he made up so much the entire crew had to redo the setup over and over. No one could control him, but no one wanted to, because the box office was speaking louder than anyone. Still, the cost was growing. For Ace Ventura, he made $350,000. After the release, his fee jumped to $7 million for Dumb and Dumber, then $20 million for The Cable Guy. But the more he made, the more he fell apart. During the promo tour for Dumb and Dumber, he had a nervous breakdown. He saw things that weren't there. He admitted to using cocaine to stay awake. He called himself a sad clown. He felt like he was wearing a mask. Not the green one, a different kind, the kind where you pretend to be happy while you fall apart inside. The merchandise deals hit hard too. Over 1 million Ace Ventura dolls sold fast. Lunchboxes, t-shirts, toys. Everywhere you looked, there was Ace's face, but Carrey wasn't celebrating. In 1995, he sued Warner Brothers for $20 million, saying they used his face in video games without permission. He was the biggest comedy star in the world. But he didn't even control his own smile anymore. The lawsuit became a turning point for celebrity image rights, but for Carrey, it was personal. Then came Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls. For the sequel, he demanded $15 million plus extra money from ticket sales. It was one of the biggest comedy paydays ever. The movie made $212 million worldwide, but the script horrified him. Animal cruelty jokes, mean scenes. He tried to change them on set. He fought with the writers, made up safer lines, but some things still slipped through. Activists attacked the film, saying it made fun of sacred animals. Carrey kept the laughs coming, but inside he was at war with what the movie had become. That same year, The Mask exploded in theaters. Made for $18 million, it pulled in $351 million around the world, becoming the fourth highest grossing movie of 1994. The green mask wasn't just makeup. It was computer effects from Industrial Light and Magic. Over 200 scenes used visual effects. Carrey wore the fake face for up to 12 hours a day, sometimes so long it burned his skin, but it paid off. The film got an Oscar nomination for Best Visual Effects. It lost to Forrest Gump, but Carrey had already won. He helped bring back swing music, made Cameron Diaz a star, and proved again he could carry a film with pure chaos. And Dumb and Dumber wasn't far behind. It cost $17 million, made $247 million worldwide, and became a cult classic. Carrey wrote about 30% of Lloyd's lines. The "We Got No Food, We Got No Jobs" song was pure improv. On set, everything was a mess. One scene delayed a real wedding because filming was too loud. Carrey tried to do a snowboarding stunt himself, broke his ankle, and finished the scenes anyway, limping, bleeding, but still saying lines. Jeff Daniels nearly got frozen to a ski lift pole. They had to pour warm water to get him loose, but all the money couldn't save him from crashing. Fox hit him with a $10 million lawsuit in 1994 over In Living Color money. He settled out of court. That same year, the film industry paid him around $20 million, but at the MTV Awards, he collapsed on stage. He whispered that he needed a break. He was exhausted, paranoid. The crowd cheered, but backstage, he admitted the truth. He couldn't keep pretending. Jim Carrey had made everyone laugh, but deep down he was running out of breath. When Jim Carrey filmed the boat escape in The Truman Show, the pressure was real. The director, Peter Weir, wasn't satisfied until Carrey reached the edge of his own breaking point. That one stormy scene alone took 150 tries. The crew built a fake ocean with a storm system that could pass for the real thing. The tank was as big as a football field. Water slammed into Carrey from all sides while he held onto a boat and wore a safety harness that felt like a seatbelt in a crash. At one point, the storm scene got so real that he almost drowned. Crew members had to jump in and save him. Yet when they finally captured the moment Truman touches the wall and leaves the fake world, it only took one try. That shot would become one of the most memorable in movie history. The movie cost $60 million to make and earned $264 million around the world. Carrey's performance was so powerful that no one laughed, they just watched. He didn't just act in that dome, he lived in it. For weeks, Carrey refused to leave the set. He wanted to feel what it meant to be completely alone, cut off from the world like Truman. He didn't call his family, he barely spoke to anyone outside the scenes. That being alone made the emotional scenes hit harder, but it also caused fights. Carrey started arguing with Peter Weir, demanding control over scenes, even asking for a $20 million bonus if he won a Golden Globe. He did, he won Best Actor, but by the time the trophy was in his hand, things behind the scenes were already broken. Still, The Truman Show changed how people saw him, no longer just a funny face. Now he was a serious actor with something deeper to say. When he took on Man on the Moon, Carrey didn't just play Andy Kaufman, he became him. He lost 40 pounds. He watched hours of Kaufman videos until it lived in his bones. He stayed in character even off camera, acting like Kaufman in meetings, practices, everywhere. Danny DeVito couldn't take it. He asked for breaks just to catch his breath. In one of the final scenes, Carrey injected himself with salt water to copy the signs of cancer. He wanted the pain to look real. It did. The film made $47 million. Carrey won his second Golden Globe, but behind that win was a divorce. He and Lauren Holly split after just 1 year. He said he couldn't connect emotionally anymore. A documentary later showed how far he had fallen into Kaufman's mind. It wasn't just acting, it was hurting himself. Back in 1995, during Batman Forever, Carrey brought the Riddler to life with wild energy and custom props. He designed 20 canes, each one different. The movie made $336 million, a huge hit. But inside, Carrey was breaking. Worry ate at him, and he started taking Valium just to stay calm. Word of his struggle leaked. On set, Tommy Lee Jones couldn't handle his behavior, and the two fought constantly. That was when Carrey's addiction first started showing its face. What looked like fun and games on screen was chaos underneath. Then came Liar Liar. It pulled in $302 million, driven by Carrey's ability to make up nearly 60% of his lines. The courtroom scenes were wild, spontaneous, alive. But 3 years later, Carrey sued Universal, saying they owed him a $2 million bonus. The lawsuit got ugly. He said the studio cheated him out of money he deserved. It was settled quietly, but the damage was done. The movie stayed a fan favorite, but now it had a scar behind the scenes. During The Cable Guy, things got darker. The film brought in $102 million, but behind the camera, it was a mess. Carrey became Chip Douglas so fully that he bothered Matthew Broderick off camera. Broderick once shouted, "I don't know how to react anymore." After a long day of unpredictable scenes, one shoot ended with both men getting mud in their eyes. Broderick's eye covering tore. He waited 14 hours in his trailer one day because of delays. The movie was meant to be a dark comedy. Instead, it became an uncomfortable experiment in pushing too far. When Carrey played the Grinch, it wasn't fun. The film made $345 million, but he spent 2.5 hours every day in makeup that made him feel buried alive. The fake pieces made it hard to breathe. He couldn't move without sweating or needing constant fixes. He kept pushing for retakes, demanding more, insisting on perfection. The makeup team won an Oscar, but Carrey walked away with back pain and months of exhaustion. The success was huge, but the cost was written in his bones. In 2015, tragedy hit. Catriona White, an Irish makeup artist and Carrey's on-and-off partner, died from a drug overdose. She left a note blaming him for mental abuse and giving her the pills. Her family sued, saying Carrey gave her STD and painkillers, and broke up with her when she was most fragile. The case shook the industry. Investigators found missing pill bottles and texts, suggesting he knew what was coming. His team said it was all extortion. The case was dismissed in 2018, but the stains never washed away. In Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Carrey played against everything he'd ever done. No laughs, no routines. The director, Mitchell Gondry, didn't even call action. He wanted Carrey to be lost in the moment. He was. The $20 million film was shot in chaos with 17-hour days and no safety nets. Carrey shaved his head for one scene. He later admitted the process left him depressed. The performance was raw, but the wounds were real. It took him months to recover. His personal life wasn't spared. In 2012, his daughter Jane was diagnosed with autism. By 2018, she distanced herself, calling out his toxic views. Carrey spoke often about his dad, Percy, who lost his job when Jim was a kid. The family lived in poverty, cleaning factory floors to survive. Percy died in 2006. Carrey wrote a $10 million check for the funeral. He said it was full circle from barely surviving in a camper van to being able to bury his father like a king. Even after hinting at retirement in 2018, Carrey returned in 2020 with Sonic the Hedgehog, which made $319 million. He joked that he came back for money, saying, "I bought a lot of stuff." He wasn't lying. He pocketed $30 million for Sonic 3. The production even printed his script in Reel 24-karat gold ink just to get him in. He said the magic brought him back. He never truly left. In 2014, Dumb and Dumber 2 surprised everyone. It made $169 million, even though critics trashed it. Carrey dropped 30 pounds to play Lloyd again. The film almost didn't happen. He dropped out in 2012, then came back when Jeff Daniels said he wouldn't do it without him. The script was rushed in just 3 weeks. Afterward, Carrey criticized it anyway, calling it lazy. The production company was later caught in a scandal involving stolen Malaysian money and had to settle for $60 million. Still, the movie sold tickets. By 2022, depression caught up with him again. He said it felt like low-level sadness that never left. Prozac had been his reality since the 1980s. In 2017, he nearly died from pneumonia while filming Sonic 2. That moment forced him to pause. He eventually quit medication, saying it was better to feel pain than feel nothing. He started speaking openly about therapy and healing. It delayed Sonic 3, but reminded people he was human. Back in 2007, the number 23 flopped with only $77 million, but it haunted Carrey more than any blockbuster. He got obsessed. He saw the number everywhere in street signs, phone numbers, clocks. He couldn't shake it. He even started writing about number meanings. After the movie, he went into therapy, trying to separate fiction from reality. He said he wouldn't take on roles that dark again. In Kick-Ass 2, he played Colonel Stars, but after the Sandy Hook school shooting, he pulled out of all promotion. He said he couldn't support a film with so much violence. His silence became the loudest statement. The film earned $60 million, but Carrey's choice made a bigger impact than the movie. By 2024, he was back again for Sonic 3. Mustache glued on each morning over 3 hours. Another $30 million deal. He laughed about needing money, saying he bought too many houses. The director sending a gold ink script wasn't a joke. That really happened. Carrey admitted That kind of gesture made him feel alive. It wasn't just money, it was magic. In 2017, he stunned everyone with a viral interview at Fashion Week saying, "There is no me." He wasn't trying to be clever, he meant it. He had studied Eckhart Tolle, meditated for years, and now felt like he wasn't a person anymore, just part of everything. He said peace didn't come from personality or fame. It came from letting go. That same year, he started painting hundreds of canvases inspired by what he called Christ consciousness. At Homeboy Industries in 2015, he told former inmates that forgiveness is what opens heaven's gates. He said Jesus suffered not just physically, but emotionally and still forgave. That's where his art came from. He wasn't acting anymore, he was searching. By 2025, Jim Carrey's movies had made over $8 billion. He won 2 Golden Globes, but never an Oscar. He once said, "Everyone should get rich and famous just to learn that it doesn't fix anything." His biggest year was still 1994. Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all in one stretch. But his soul lived somewhere else. He believed in peace.